Good morning to Within the Portal Saturday Satsang. Excuse me. Why am I wearing a Museum of Death Halloween shirt when Halloween is past? Well, because I have a collection of them and I don't get to wear them very often. And it fits great and it feels great and I love it. So this one's not technically Halloween. This is Museum of Death New Orleans. And it's a supplement to the one that I was killed in from the Museum of Death in Hollywood that I often wear. That is all stitched up from Editor Barb. But to be like Frankenstein's monster is really cool. Excuse me. That morning throat clearing. I like this little arrangement where I got like a halo behind my head. I'm trying to line it up, but I keep moving. I keep moving around because I'm very energetic. We had 5 guests last week, and that was great. And this week, we were probably not going to have any. I got texts and response from several people saying they couldn't make it this week for a couple of reasons. And the show must go on, so I'm going to proceed. But it's very likely that I will postpone this portal discussion to next week for several reasons. I came across some new insights and some ideas that wasn't prepared for this talk. And I really want to be able to include those. So that's one of the reasons. Secondly, because again, nobody could make it. And I thought that, and many of them do really want to be here for this. So we look for the signs, fate kind of directs us. So this will pass in a few minutes. And I wanted to cue up the Twilight Zone intro. You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not of sight, a dimension of sight, and a dimension of sound. And you're entering the Twilight Zone because, again, the Halloween theme, Museum of Death, etc., is apropos because this is when the veil between the material realm and the spirit realm is the thinnest. This is why autumnal equinox and Halloween and these holidays are honored and celebrated in that perspective. It is a wonderful time to reflect on death and spirit. It's much more fun than usual. So again, the veil that exists between the material dimension and the spirit dimension is the thinnest during this time of year. There are many different dimensions. Quantum physics has a very solid theory that there are 11 different dimensions to reality. What are those dimensions? Well, we have 4 that we know of, 3 spatial and 1 time. When you ask a physicist, like Brian Greene, I don't subscribe to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think he's cute, great for kids and families, but a little bit saccharine to me. Brian Greene, I think, is incredible. He's very accessible, teaches some great stuff. And anyway, so I'm a physics hobbyist. So what if you ask them what's in these other dimensions? If you know they're there, mathematically it shows that they do exist. They must. The only way that our 4 dimension reality exists is if those other ones are kind of holding it together from the outside as well. And the physicists will say, we can't know that. It's not possible to look into them. If we did, we'd perceive them. So the way it's presented is this. We live in an 11-dimension reality, but we only perceive 4 of them. 3 spatial, 1 time. I have some theories of my own. What are those other dimensions? Trust me, this is going into the portal conversation and divine love, etc., as always. Well, first of all, 1 time dimension doesn't fit for me. We have a past, a present, and a future. There's 3 dimensions right there. We only experience time in a forward manner, but somewhere in the Akashic space of reality, the other 2 exist. And as a past life regressionist and many other things, I access them quite frequently. We can all contemplate the past anticipate the future, and be in the present. So, and even in Interstellar, that wonderful movie by Christopher Nolan, that's so dead on with physics, it's so brilliant. Exploring this concept that we only perceive this present in a forward motion, eternal present, then time moves forward. But that if we knew how, we could access the other dimensions of time as well. That all time and all knowledge exists in a particular space that we can access. Again, the Akashic space, the Akashic records. So what I'm suggesting to you is right away that we have our four that we know of, the three spatial and one time, and I'm suggesting right away that there are two time dimensions, the past and the future. So now we've got what, 7? I'm terrible at math. That's why I'm a physics theorist, not a mathematician. So we have past, present, future. The one that has all of them together, like we experience, like one that, well, past, present, future, and then 3 spatial. Now, there's 6. We can combine them. Again, as physicists will explain that in one dimension, there is the line land, where everything is horizontal, moves forward and back only. And in that dimension, the you that exists there has no perception of up and down and side to side. In another dimension, there is side to side motion and no knowledge or awareness of forward and back or up and down. So each has its own dimension, and we experience several of them at once. So the theory is that there is a you, or there is something that experiences the dimensions of the other ones at once. So there is a reality, a parallel universe, you could say, that people are perceiving a 5-dimensional reality, a 6, one that's experiencing a 7, up to 11. 11, of course, a magical number for a numerologist. Like literally, we refer to those as power numbers and magical numbers, the double vibrations, 22, 33, etc. Now, hold on, I want to grab my book so I can read from it for a moment. The quote straight from, oh, there we go, from chapter 9, The Portal. The world has 3 spatial and 1 time dimension. The 5th dimension is celestial. The 7th is divine. The 6th is of divine love consciousness, which connects them. Swami Prakashanand Saraswati, the 6th dimension. I mean, that just says so much right there. The world has 3 spatial and 1 time dimension. The 5th dimension is a celestial. The 7th is divine. The 6th, in between, is divine love consciousness, which connects them. So what he's saying here, Swami Prakashanand, an enlightened master, in my view, I accept him as a realized personality, is that the 5th dimension is celestial, heavenly. And again, theorists, quantum physicists will tell you that all the dimensions of reality exist in one place. They're all here around us all the time. They're just not uncurled. They're not opened. They are curled up, called a Kalabi Yao figure is what they refer to it as, because I guess the guy that kind of came up with it is some Asian guy, Kalabi Yao or something like that. I don't know. And so quantum physicists teach us that these dimensions are all around, but they're curled up tight so we don't perceive them, but they're here. We can't know exactly what they are. And again, when we go to the Vedas and Upanishads, what Swami Prakashanand is referring to there is that the celestial dimension, he says the 5th dimension is celestial. This again is not quite material, not divine. Divine is the ultimate absolute, capital A. Celestial is the ones that are still part of the material phenomena, but they're not dense like the material, Mayic, earthly phenomena. They are far more spiritual, but they're not perfect, like the divine realm. So, in this fifth dimension, as Swami Prakashanand is suggesting that it's celestial. That's the term we use in the Eastern philosophies that, again, is not quite material as we know it, dense physical reality, not quite divine and beyond material reality. It's still part of the material dimension, just more subtle and more refined. The Vedas, Upanishads, the Buddhist texts, and systems also mention that this fifth dimension of celestial has many dimensions in it, subdivisions, you could say. So even though it is a general dimension, celestial, heavenly abodes, there are many of those as well. And this is explained within the Dialogue on the Other Side chapter of the book as I took a tour in my death experience. I was given a tour of different dimensions. And I saw many heavenly dimensions that basically what was explained to me when I was within the other side within the portal by Akashic agents, my guardian angels that were assisting me, was that there are many dimensions, almost infinite. And it's unique to the individual in many ways, which reality is what you perceive. We often accept this. This is something of a psychedelic reference, but reality is what you make of it. And so as I toured through the different dimensions of celestial realms and heavenly realms, there were dimensions and celestial realms of Yeshua the Christ, Muhammad the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Buddha, Lao Tzu, all the divine personalities, anything that you believe, anything that as long as it's genuine and real, then it has its own spatial dimension that you can exist in. These are all connected, but yet still separate as well. Paradox, which only exists within spiritual, celestial, and divine dimensions. And again, beyond all that is the divine dimension. Now, the question becomes, well, where does the portal dimension fit into all this? The Bardo, as referred to in Tibetan Buddhism, and Tarabao, I don't always get this pronunciation correct in Sanskrit, forgive me, not like anybody would know. And Tarabao is the Sanskrit name for the in-between dimension, as again the Buddhists refer to as purgatory, as Bardo, and the Western religion referred to as purgatory, the in-between state. Not quite heaven, not hell, not material, it's in between. This is the dimension that we all go to and go through between our lifetimes. You can bypass it if you have qualified to go to heaven, celestial, or to go to the divine realm, the ultimate abode. You can bypass it. But if you're reincarnating, you got to come back, you go through the portal, Bardo, purgatory dimension first, and then you spend some time there. The conventional theory is established by every religion is 49 days. 49 Earth days is what is the conventional standard operating procedure for the time within the portal. But that's not a set in stone rule either. It's flexible, depending on your karmas, etc. We talk a lot about this in these workshops and classes. Talked recently about the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now, these are training manuals. And I mentioned that the Vedas, Upanishads, and all the Sanskrit and Dharma, and pretty much all the religious manuals, the Bible, etc., are all basically training manuals to prepare you for the afterlife. And I think that's an important way to look at our scriptural materials of this world. That they're all training manuals to teach us how to prepare for the afterlife. Ghost realm, hellish realm, heavenly realm, celestial realm, divine realm, material realm in between. What do we want? If we don't plan and live with consciousness specifically to attain a specific destination, then we're going to get what we get. I don't know about you, but when I'm driving my car somewhere, I'm going on a road trip. It's kind of nice not to have a destination, just kind of wing it, but I pick a direction. I actually pick a direction, a destination. I'm going to go, say, to San Francisco, but whatever I experience along the way may completely detour me. I'm not set in stone. And I love that. I love the fact that I'm going someplace, but I don't really care if I ever get there. I'm open to new things. I'm open to changes. I don't have an obligation. But I want to be the captain of that destiny. I want to choose where I want to go with my will and my consciousness. Not have it pre-decided for me. We're deciding our post-death, afterlife experience every moment of our lives. Because every way we live, think, and feel is preparing us for this. We're creating the circumstances of where we're going to go, what kind of experience we're going to get. We mostly hear about near-death experience phenomena that are heavenly, celestial, peaceful, beautiful, etc. There are a few, and they're out there. You can YouTube these two, people that were confronted with hellish experiences. I had both. As I mentioned in this book, is the time when I went back to the hospital and had to go get my spine fused together. I was witnessing some very dark and very, I wouldn't say terrifying, foreboding, not light and spirit and beauty, but something more the shadow realms, the ghost realms, and more the darker realms of dimensions as I witnessed those. So I got to kind of observe both. Certainly, we all agree that the way we live our life is going to be able to reward you or give you a consequence of either heaven or hell type of situation. That's just common sense. So the way we choose where we're going is just that, the way we live our life. To live with consciousness, free will, be determined, pick your destination, and go towards it. The struggles that many of us have living within this material world with humanity is that many people are just mindless to it. They don't care. Many people are just materially driven and sinister, but most people are pretty good people, but they're not living in a deliberate way. I'm not saying we should obsess about death. We should be conscious of it. Where are we going? The portal dimension, the in-between state between life and death, where I was during my coma for 9 days, fully aware and conscious within that dimension, fully, not partially, like really more aware and awake and perceptive than I am in the normal state. Because my ego, my sense of self was totally reduced, not gone, but very minimal. I was more pure consciousness and spirit than I was personality, which is why when I came back, it was very difficult because I was still in this kind of all accepted, peaceful, beautiful, wide view perspective and could not relate to the confinement and restrictions within the material world, how people were, how people are, how the world is, how even I would have been. It took me a long time to restore my personality. I was this after the hospital, during the hospital, and soon after, for months afterwards, for the first pretty much a year or two, I was this completely different individual. I was gentle, I was peaceful, I was kind, I was just really gentle, which people that know me say, you're not gentle. I'm a very assertive personality. This is because I was in something of a sublime state. I was very well connected. My material mind had not settled within my body yet. My spirit mind was very settled. And I was between both dimensions, perceiving them both all the time, mostly the spirit, barely the material. So it was a more illumined state of consciousness. And I didn't like it. For me personally, it was beautiful in many ways, but it doesn't fit here. I felt very much, and I gave this analogy within the book, and I explained this because I explained it to people once I kind of came up with it when they were asking me what it was like, what I was going through. And I said, imagine you go to sleep one night, in deep sleep, peaceful and wonderful, and you're unconscious. And when you wake, you're groggy, and as you're rousing from sleep in that in-between kind of state, you realize you're on an airplane. And you hear in the overhead announcement is the announcer saying to buckle your seatbelts, we're going to be landing soon in Beijing, China. Excuse me. And you're thinking, China? What the hell? I must be dreaming. And you pinch, you realize I'm not dreaming. This is happening. This is really happening. I don't know how I got here. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know nothing. I don't speak Chinese. I don't even have, and you look, you don't even have a passport, no papers, no nothing. And you realize you don't know who you are. You're in this circumstance that you know nothing about. You have no idea why or how. You're going to be landing in China with no papers, no passport. You can't speak the language. You don't even know how to ask for help. And you're not really willing to because you figure you're going to be locked up and be crazy if you don't know what's going on. We would all kind of recoil, go very introverted, and be probably a little scared, and rightfully so. In many ways, this is what it was kind of like for me as I was reintegrating back into my body. The world didn't make any sense to me. I didn't feel like I spoke its language, couldn't relate to it. It was this weird, dense, physical place that had confinements and restrictions, and no one saw the true reality of spirit and consciousness. No one saw this. And I felt like I was the only one. And for me, it was like natural because I was still in this ethereal state. I was still mostly, my consciousness was still within the portal, only partially within my body. So very disorienting. I didn't want to be here. The material world was kind of a scary, dirty, ghetto kind of place compared to the portal dimension, which is peaceful and sublime and just content and just, again, egoless. I had to reorient. I had to get back where I could function within this material world because where I was confined. I couldn't swiftly say, I don't want to be here, I'm gone. Yes, I would have stayed in the celestial dimension, in the portal dimension, but you don't get to choose as many ND years think you can. The Akashic agents, angels, give you this perception that you get to choose because it makes you commit more personally to a spiritual life. If it's not your time, it's not your time. You're coming back. Only if you earn to the way you lived your life a celestial, heavenly, or divine abode. Otherwise, it's back to the material realm based on your karmas and actions and thoughts and decisions, based on who you are and who you've been. So I digress a little bit about the portal itself, because I did an interview earlier this week for a podcast. A guy in I think he said he was in Singapore. Really cool guy. It's gonna be posted pretty soon. I'll send out some notices so people can see it. We had a good time. I hadn't done one in a while. It was very emotional. It was a good host. I mean, a lot of the podcast hosts are not that great, so it takes a good host to give a good interview. And he was asking me, he said, so he had some really good questions. And he said, so describe to me what you saw? What was this portal dimension like? What did you experience? It's a challenging question to answer because I'm trying to give you references and metaphors and analogies that you can relate to. It is ineffable. Again, like I have never been to China. I've been to Japan, I've been all over Asia, India, Nepal, etc., but I've never been to China. I don't really want to go. I have a big desire to go there. I've seen it in books. I've read about it. I've seen a lot of things about it. I mean, I'm not ignorant to its existence at all, but I can only imagine. The most people can do is show me pictures and give me references to kind of get a picture of what it might be like. But I can guarantee you, I mean, been a traveler to Asia, especially your first time, whatever you learn about it, it doesn't fit any of that. My first time in India, I was like, whoa, it was such a bizarre place. Not because it's bad at all, because I'd never seen anything like it. I just could not relate. I was literally the day before I went in a shopping mall in Sherman Oaks, Southern California, going down an escalator in this state-of-the-art mall because I had to get a new piece of luggage for the trip. This kind of really cool thing that I got. And I had to go back and take it back when I got back from India, my first trip. And I remember this because as I went back, because there was a problem with the bag. So I'm in the mall on this escalator and realizing like, I mean, the day before I was in these remote villages with villagers that, and I'm thinking, if I was one of these villagers and I woke up on this escalator, I think I was in like some kind of like spatial Martian other planet. This is so common for me, but so completely unorthodox for them. There were some of these villagers that had no idea about any of these kind of things, what we take for granted. And you can't explain it to them. People nod their head yes, go, yeah, I get it. Well, that sounds amazing. And then they see it. And again, same thing. Before I went to Asia, I read a lot about it. I had a lot of my friends and devotee family people telling me what it was going to be like, kind of. And most of what they would say is, can't explain it. You'll see when you get there. Sure enough, when I got there, I was like, whoa. And again, not bad. I'm simply saying, whoa. It was bizarre. It was just something that I'd never, ever witnessed before. Now, being to India and Asia 8 times, I'm totally comfortable. Like I'm not, wow, I am in many ways, but I'm not in any way. After the first trip, I orient very quickly. My point is that as within each incarnation, we reorient to the dimension we're in. It takes some adjustment. The death event is like this as well. When you die, I don't care who you are. I ain't afraid of death, you're all these people saying. Yeah, do it. Try it. It's not about fear. It's that you're totally unprepared for such a completely extraordinary experience. Things you've never seen or even could imagine. If you have an adventurous spirit of mind like I do and always have, I thrive on that. I'm like, I want the bizarre. I want the extraordinary. I want to see and experience things that are strange. I just always have. That's why I like Halloween. Again, Museum of Death, it's a macabre place. One in Hollywood was twisted into the New Orleans one too. There's only 2 of them in the world. I ended up going to both, coincidentally. Again, it's not about good or bad. It's just you perceive things that your mind cannot relate to. Again, I'll give you another analogy in a similar way. It's kind of scuba diving. People think I go scuba diving because I'm like some extreme sports nut. I'm not. I like scuba diving because it's peaceful. It's so beautiful and it's so completely foreign. It is, I can't explain it any other way. I have to use the word literally, even though I can't use that word because that's not literally the right word to use because it's not literally anything. It is like being on another planet. Being 30, 40, 80 feet down in the ocean, it is so completely foreign. You've never seen anything like it. You can't perceive it. You can't understand it. You can't relate to it to anything. The creatures, the landscape, seascape, I don't know what you call it, is so bizarre that your mind just really to grasp it, it is just in awe. It's all about scuba diving. It's so completely otherworldly. So to describe to this interviewer, to answer his question, what was the portal like? What did it look like? And I do my best as an accomplished author and writer and communicator to explain what I can. And I just preface it with all this that you can't relate to it. Yes, it is something like pure light. Yes, it is something like pure ambiance and environment. It is peace. It is love. For me, I was not experiencing anything tangible at all. No body, no pass on loved ones and all that. And again, I explain within my book that this is because I didn't need it. I was fine with it just being a kind of a dormant resting place. So what did it look like? Yes, it is light, but at the same time, it's nothing. It's not dark, it's not light. For me, my time within the portal was neutral. That may sound bland and boring, but it's not, because it is just an egoless, desireless environment. I was in company, in association with what I refer to as the Akashic agents. You could say angels, guardian angels, whatever you want to call them. These are divine or spiritual personalities that communicate. And it wasn't like we do, it was telepathic. And it wasn't like a conversation, even though I related to that way in the book. It was instant download, instant upload. Whatever I wanted to know, I just did if I was qualified to know it. Whatever they wanted to share with me, it was just there. It wasn't like this dialogue that I put in the book because I've got to distill it down to a relatable concept and exchange a back and forth dialogue. Again, as we think of the other dimensions around us that are all the time, 11 dimensions that are around us all the time. Indeed, spiritual dimension, time dimensions, who knows what, ghost realms, etc. And they're superimposed in layers within the dimensions of reality. They all exist in one Mayic material phenomena. And yet, again, they're superimposed upon each other. So the other dimensions are right here, all around us. We can perceive them in a similar way, like a dog whistle. Dog can hear, but you can't. It's just the octaves that we have within our senses. Because when no one was able to come here today, I'm not going to go on about this. I'm going to save this topic. Let me double check and make sure that there's no one is here that I can't see. Nope, no, I'm all alone today. Again, I think that's some fate involved. I realized yesterday after the notice was put out for this workshop that I wanted to discuss another layer of it, and I didn't include that in the emails and the blast I went out to promote it. And things have gone a certain way that it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to present it this week. We can do it next week. I may post this. I may not. Again, I may just postpone and begin this topic again next week when more people can show up. What I want to share, in case I do post it, again, is another passage about the portal within this book. Okay, find it again. Here we go. Oh, where it is. Ah, here we go. Let's see where I want to begin this. What I accessed and what I returned from the portal was proportionate to my level and status. I've been a spiritualist for several lifetimes, but far from a perfect one, and in each I had either lost my way or at least detoured from the direct path's progress. But I had accumulated an extraordinary amount of spiritual knowledge and practical experience in past and current lives. That's what the books of the dead are all about. Investing this life in spiritual knowledge and practice to reap what you sow in the next. The major reason my Kundalini event at 25 was so prodigious may have been because of prior life work with it. I seem to have had an entire life of supernatural occurrences. Is this partly due to prior life study and practice? We've all done it. Spent many lifetimes in a row pursuing spiritual truths and have accumulated enough progress to have a good starting point from which to progress in the next. We've all lost our way, been detoured, or generally forsook our spirituality and deviated back to the material. We're all on varying paths of the spiritual material spectrum. We're all the fool within the tarot deck on his journey from matter to spirit. We each have an opportunity to accept spiritual initiation from the magician of card number 1 and of spiritual downfall when we interact with card number 16, the tower. We go back and forth through the human condition until we get it right and arrive at the trump card. Number 22, the world, which doesn't mean matter. The world card represents the end of the major arcana of the deck and is total liberation and illumination. Wherever you are on your fool's journey, go forward, never back. And eventually, we will pass the wheel, go directly past death, and be given the password from key number 20, judgment, to get the entire world in our hands. I remember writing that. It wasn't planned. That whole tarot references about the human condition was just spontaneous. And I just felt like it was channeled through. And I really enjoy it. The fact that these modalities, again, there's a veil between our material reality and the other spiritual realms. And what spiritual modalities, as I refer to them, mystic modalities, tarot, I Ching, Kabbalah's Tree of Life, etc., astrology, gives us access to be able to peer through beyond the veil. The spiritual realm is all around us all the time. Yet we're not perceiving it. Some people do, mediums, psychics, etc. And again, they will tell you the same thing. They'll say it's all around us. They're kind of like, why can't you see it? That's how I've always felt about my intuition. I don't think I'm doing anything magical or special. I've always felt like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just deductive reasoning. Like, I'm not doing anything magical. I'm just seeing things that are in front of me. It took me a while until I was well along in my youth to realize, and my mom kind of pointed out, that other people don't perceive them. I thought everybody did. We don't need to invest our time to perceive these other spiritual dimensions around us. They're still part of the material phenomena. When you get there, you're still going to realize, like, okay, well, this is different and this is great. Like scuba diving and like going to China or going to Asia, very exotic, very extraordinary, but it's still part of the world. I love those experiences. I don't scuba dive like I used to. First of all, I don't have the access where I'm living and all that, and my injuries and the things that I went through. But I still like to scuba dive. I went a couple years ago to Turks and Caicos. Anyway, same with traveling to Asia and India and my spiritual pilgrimages. And when I recently went to was Egypt. But I was on a mission. I had a particular thing to go and do there, which I accomplished. Again, I find that no matter where I go, there's that saying, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever I go, there I am. Wherever I go in the world, I'm always able to extract and find the profound, the meaningful, the layers that are below the surface, the true essence of what these exotic places are. But it's all shrouded in such material superficiality. No matter where I go, one of the things that I find most common in the world, as different as Asia is, and Western Asia, when I went to Egypt, to the Western world, as different as it is, it's all the same. TV and advertising, cell phones. I don't think I saw one person in Japan looking up when they walked down the road, down the streets. All of them in groups were looking down at their phones all the time. As different as everybody is, in many ways, they're all the same. I don't know why they can't see that and accept that. The commercials and marketing in India may be in Hindi, but it's the same stuff. Selling the same stuff in the same ways, trying to create this illusion that, hey, if you had this, your life would be perfect. And if you don't, your life is going to suck, and you suck, and you're dumb. That's the theme, and that's the message. So personally, I don't have the wanderlust anymore. I satisfied it with all my traveling. I've done a lot of traveling as a pilgrim. And I'm satisfied. I'm not bored of it. I still like to be a pilgrim and go to spiritual places. But dealing with security and airline and TSA and blah, I'm like, you know what? I want to do it, but it ain't worth all that again. And it used to never bother me. I was younger. I took it in stride. I was like, which is part of the thing. Like, it didn't really bother me. Now I'm like, no way. Unless I have to do it, I'm not going through that. It ain't worth it. It's an age thing, an experiential thing. It's just kind of like I'm burned out. It's got to be really extraordinary for me to go through all that to get something that I want, to go through that to see something. Again, wherever you go, there you are. To realize that it's still material phenomena. There is the second canto of the Bhagavatam. I love it. 10th is my cherished source of true spiritual illumination and enlightenment, the 10th canto. But the second, which I read a little while ago, a few years ago, blew my mind. I always wanted to read it. I want to read them all. I'll get there. Second one is basically about, could be the third, I may get the numbers wrong, is about this yogi, this sadhu, spiritual seeker and practitioner that is seeking the truth, the absolute perfect truth of the meaning of his existence. And he, through his yoga practices and celestial work, is able to access at will these different dimensions. And he basically tours them. Again, I did this in my death experience, and I didn't read the second canto till a couple years ago. And every dimension he went to, they're beautiful and they're perfect in their own way and peaceful. And basically, what he experienced and witnesses there is that everyone there, which could be countless souls or just a few where it's pretty peaceful and quiet, it's unlimited, is they just are simply 24/7 in spiritual consciousness. They're not watching TV, making food, or anything like that. They're just thinking about, singing about, and meditating on God, whatever form of God they have in that dimension. Shiva, Vishnu, Abraham. Oh, I'm sorry, Abraham. He's Yahweh, etc. And in every dimension this sadhu goes to, he is tempted to make it his home. This is where I want to be and want to stay. I mean, this is perfect. And yet, with everyone, he still has this tiny, subtle, nagging feeling it ain't the one he wants. And he keeps going. And he gets to one that he experiences what's perfect for him. Now, in his, it's because in that realm dimension, he experiences the Lord Krishna, the divine love aspect. not just an almighty aspect of the God power, but the divine love aspect of the God power. That's the difference. Is that all the other dimensions that he went to, they're also perfect, blissful, and love. And yet they weren't just divine love. They also had almightiness, lordship, etc. But only one of the dimensions that he experienced as Krishna was its pure, unadulterated, unalloyed divine love. And what a beautiful message it was that he was basically going from dimension to dimension, had the opportunity to stay in any perfect dimension he wanted. And I'm like, no, I'd rather wait. I'll struggle through what I got to struggle through to get to the perfect dimension of pure and absolute divine love. Gonna wrap it up here since we don't really have anything going on here. It looks like you're done talking, so we'll lower your hand. I don't know what this thing's doing. The internet dimension, that's a whole nother whoa. What a mess. We have access to so much. It's a shame what we actually do with it. Do I think the internet has made the world a better place? In many ways, yes. In many ways, no. It has created opportunities and made the world a smaller place and connections, et cetera, and all that. But at the same time, it's added a layers and aspects of confusion, stress, and pain and an annoyance that is just unqualified. Another conversation, another time. So probably not even going to post this. Maybe I do. I'll speak to you again soon. We will continue this conversation. We're going to talk more about the portal itself in a more conversational tone. We have a few people that can join us. I'm going to go run some errands instead. I'm going to take advantage of this kind of beautiful fall day I got outside. Goodbye. Jai Shri Radhe. Glory to the essence of divine love.